Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Expat Echo, the podcast where we explore real-life situations that help you communicate more naturally and confidently in English while living abroad.
Hi, everyone. Today's episode is going to be fun, relatable, and honestly, a little uncomfortable at times.
Because we're talking about those awkward moments that happen in cafes and restaurants when your order is wrong, your coffee tastes strange, or you simply don't know how to explain the problem politely in English.
I think almost everyone has experienced that situation at least once. You receive the wrong meal, but instead of saying something, you just sit there quietly and eat it anyway.
Exactly. Many English learners know basic restaurant vocabulary, but they often feel nervous when something unexpected happens, and they need to communicate clearly. Why restaurant situations feel stressful in English.
I think restaurant conversations become stressful because they happen very quickly. The waiter is standing there waiting. There's noise around you, and suddenly your brain stops translating properly.
That's true. And sometimes people worry too much about sounding rude. For example, they want to say, "This coffee is too sweet," or "I ordered something different," but they feel uncomfortable correcting another person in English.
Especially because tone matters a lot. The difference between sounding polite and sounding aggressive can depend on just one phrase.
Exactly. Saying, "You gave me the wrong order," sounds much harsher than, "I think this might be the wrong order." Common real-life restaurant problems.
Let's talk about some common situations people experience in cafes and restaurants. One very common problem is receiving the wrong drink or meal.
Yes, especially when cafes are busy. You order an iced latte, and suddenly someone places a hot cappuccino in front of you.
Or you ask for something without sugar, and it arrives extremely sweet.
Another situation is when the food is too spicy, too cold, or missing something. And honestly, many people stay silent because they don't know how to explain the issue naturally in English.
I used to do that all the time. I remember ordering a sandwich once, and it came with ingredients I really didn't like. But instead of saying something, I just removed everything quietly and pretended it was fine.
That's actually very common among language learners. People are often more afraid of speaking than of the actual problem itself. Useful polite expressions.
One thing that helps a lot is learning softer and more polite expressions. Instead of sounding direct or frustrated, native speakers often soften their sentences naturally.
Exactly. For example, instead of saying, "This is wrong," you could say, "I think there may have been a mistake."
Or instead of, "This coffee is bad," you could say, "This is a little sweeter than I expected."
Those small changes make conversations feel calmer and more natural. And usually restaurant staff respond very positively when customers speak politely. Funny and embarrassing experience.
Have you ever had an embarrassing restaurant moment in English?
Definitely. Once I wanted sparkling water, but I accidentally asked for spicy water.
No way!
Yes. And the waiter looked completely confused for a few seconds while I was trying to explain myself.
That's actually hilarious. I once confused bill and receipt, and I kept asking the waiter for the receipt before we'd even finished eating.
These situations feel embarrassing in the moment, but honestly, they help people improve very quickly.
Exactly. Mistakes are part of the learning process.
And most native speakers are usually patient when they see someone genuinely trying to communicate. Final thoughts. Restaurant and cafe conversations may seem simple, but they are a very important part of everyday communication in English-speaking environments.
And confidence in these situations comes from practice, repetition, and real exposure, not from memorizing difficult vocabulary.
The more you speak, the more natural these conversations become. And remember, you do not need perfect English to communicate successfully.
You simply need clarity, confidence, and the willingness to try.
Thank you for joining us in today's episode of Expat Echo.
We hope today's conversation helped you feel more confident about speaking English in cafes and restaurants.
And if you've ever experienced a funny or awkward restaurant situation in English, you are definitely not alone.
See you in the next episode.